Roughly 33 million Iranians cast their votes on 26th February in two crucial elections, one to elect a new parliament and the other for a top clerical body, the Assembly of Experts. These are the first elections in Iran since the deal over the country's nuclear program and the lifting of sanctions, and as Western investors are beginning to return to Iran, a key issue in these elections is the economy. Iranians have high hopes for an improvement in daily life. That progress will come as Iran opens up to the outside world, just not as fast as expected. And even though President Rouhani and his allies have made significant gains in the Iranian politics, the president and his allies still have a number of important tasks ahead. My name is Shirvan and welcome to Caspian Report. The Iranian parliament is composed of 290 seats. Of these, 285 are directly elected members and 5 seats are reserved for members of ethnic and religious minorities. In the February elections, the moderate faction, led by President Rouhani and former presidents Rafsanjani and Khatami, won 83 seats. The hardline conservatives won 64 seats and the pragmatic conservatives won 10 seats. Furthermore, 55 seats went to independent politicians, and meanwhile, the second round of the elections will be held in April to elect the remaining seats. As for the election results for the Assembly of Experts, of the total 88 seats, the moderate coalition won 20 seats. This is an unprecedented victory for the moderate Republican coalition. However, the conservative bloc retained 27 seats. Furthermore, 35 elected candidates are endorsed by both sides, and 6 seats went to independent candidates. These numbers indicate that the moderate coalition led by Rouhani, Rafsanjani and Khatami gained a significant victory in the parliament and the Assembly of Experts. However, at the same time, these numbers are misleading because Iran's democratic system is not a real representation of the people. The thing is, Iran's pretense democracy is embedded in the structure of the government. Iran is both a republic and a theocracy. The country has elected institutions such as a parliament, but it also has unelected religious institutions. For example, the highest ranking office in Iran belongs to the supreme leader, which is held by Khamenei since 1989. What's more is that the supreme leader is elected and supervised by the Assembly of Experts. However, candidates that run for the elections for the Assembly, the Parliament, and even the Presidency are selected by the Guardian Council, who in return are selected by the Supreme Leader. This gridlock system is important to understand because it explains how Iran's internal political arena works. For one, there are no real political parties. Instead, there are 4 loose coalitions: the hardline conservatives, the pragmatic conservatives, the moderate Republicans, and the banned reformist Republicans. In the mainstream media, these coalitions are often mixed up, so the terminology is quite confusing. The reason why they are referred to as loose coalitions is because during the preparation phase of the latest and past elections, a disproportional number of moderate candidates were disqualified for parliament. Of the 12,123 candidates for parliament, the Guardian Council disqualified nearly 58% in the first round. What's more is that the disqualified list included more than 95% of the moderate candidates. After some public outcry, the Expediency Discernment Council, which mediates the negotiations between the parliament and the Guardian Council, managed to reinstate 1,500 candidates, which brought down the disqualification rate to 49%. It is for this reason that Iranian politicians tend to form coalitions to ensure seats. However, usually when elected, these coalitions collapse and it's every man for himself. This is important to understand because it means even though the moderates have gained the upper hand in the parliament, Rouhani's first task will be to make sure that the moderate coalition remains intact and pursues a collective policy. The second task of Rouhani is related to the promises he made during his presidential campaign in 2013. The president promised substantial economic growth by ending the sanctions. These hype promises have been in circulation for years. As a result, the majority of ordinary Iranians have huge expectations. The sanctions have ended, but so far the economic results have been limited, and the overall economic growth projections for 2016 are equally disencouraging. For any significant economic growth, Rouhani's administration has to increase the export of oil by 2.5 million barrels per day. This is extremely hard to accomplish with the current low oil prices. Even if Rouhani managed to increase the export of oil by a realistic estimate of 500,000 barrels per day, with the current prices of $40 per barrel, the energy revenues will be too small to have any impact on the Iranian society. Furthermore, Rouhani's administration has been trying to create a better foreign investment environment through a 7 billion stimulus plan. However, most of the Iranian government-owned companies that flourished during the country's closed economic period feel threatened by the international competition. These companies are now trying to either prevent the country from joining the global markets, or they are trying to reach some sort of a protectionist agreement with the government. Either way, attracting European investors will take time. No results are expected this year. That time span will be spent negotiating for a compromise with the government-owned companies. Overall, economic growth in 2016 will be limited, certainly not what Rouhani had promised. Thus, the president will have to make good on his promises on social reforms. Elsewise, he risks losing the confidence of his voters. However, the social reforms will also be hard to achieve. As explained before, the coalition of moderates is a fragile alliance. Iranian politicians from all political parties may agree on economic and security reforms, but they don't see eye to eye on social policy. For example, there are a number of female lawmakers in the moderate coalition, but the same coalition also includes many members who have conservative policies towards women. The same is true for the policies on free press and the release of reformist politicians and activists who were jailed following the aftermath of the Green Movement. In short, the Iranian president lacks the coherent support base for any meaningful social reform. Rouhani's third task will involve shifting the balance of power in favor of the moderate Republicans. One of his key allies in accomplishing this is Rafsanjani, a veteran of Iranian politics who has been trying for years to capture a greater share in the Assembly of Experts. The latest election results showed that Rafsanjani reached an unprecedented victory. The moderates now have a strong voice in the parliament and the Assembly of Experts, at least if they can maintain the unity of the coalitions. The Assembly of Experts consists of 88 members, and they are tasked with appointing, electing, and supervising the country's most powerful official, the Supreme Leader. For the past 2 decades, Ayatollah Khamenei has held this position, but the Supreme Leader is now 76 years old. His health is declining. In 2014, he had a prostate surgery. When Khamenei passes away, the moderate coalition will be in a position to negotiate with the conservatives for a more neutral Supreme Leader. This will mark the long-term decline of the conservatives. A neutral Supreme Leader means a more balanced Guardian Council, which in turn will lead to less disqualifications of moderate candidates and possibly the return of reformist Republicans. All in all, the results of the latest elections means that in the short and mid-term, the moderates will bolster and reinforce their positions, given that they can maintain the integrity of the coalition. However, the long-term implications will take Iran in an entire different direction. The end of the sanctions and the decline of the conservatives will allow not for the moderates, but for the reformists to dominate Iranian politics. The thing is, attracting long-term foreign investment is not just a matter of capital and goods. It means the exchange of new information and ideas. It means the total collapse of the information barrier. Subsequently, this is what the Supreme Leader Khamenei fears the most. As Iran opens up to the world, outside influences will increase and lead to political and social liberalization. Already, the majority of Iranian youth is expecting far more than the moderates are offering, including free speech, free media, social liberalization, and a more cautious foreign policy. These policies are only supported by the banned reformist Republican coalition led by Musafi, who still enjoys enormous support throughout Iran. Overall, the outcome of the elections will not result in immediate change. Instead, economic and social reform will be slow, and the newfound leverage of the moderates will not be apparent. Yet, the 2016 elections will go down in history as the beginning of the decline of conservatism in Iran. This was a Caspian Report by me, Shirvan. I want to thank the following people for their contributions on Patreon. Their support and that of many others have made this report possible. And if you would like to support Caspian Report in producing more original content like this, please visit our Patreon page in the description. For now, thank you for watching, and ciao.